Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SCBX Analyst and Investor Meeting for 2022 and fourth quarter for 2022. My name is Manop. I'm very pleased to meet you all again. So let me first introduce executive on the panel with me and also who are online, who would be able to answer any questions that you may have later in the presentation. So to my left, I have the honor of inviting Kun Chris, the CEO of SCB Bank, to be with us today. Kun Chris has recently joined the bank and has been very active in terms of making sure that the bank will continue to be a solid pillar for business for the group. So Kun Chris will share with us the strategy and the action plan for 2023. And to my right, I have, as always, Dr. Sopravin, our Chief Economist, who is also Chief Strategy Officer for SCB Bank, who will share the macro outlook for Thailand and also in the region with all of us later in the presentation. And we also have a number of executives online. So let me introduce them one by one. First, let me introduce Kun Anusha. Kun Anusha is our Chief Risk Officer of SCBX. And we also have a number of executives from portfolio companies. Kun Sarat, CEO of Cardex. Kun Thiranan, COO of Monix. Dr. Sutapa, CEO of SCB Abacus. And Kun Sihana, CEO of Purple Venture or Robin Hood, and Kun Mukhaya, CEO of SCB 10X. So without further delay, let me quickly go through the agenda for today. So what we're going to do is that I will first walk you through the results for the year and for the quarter, and then we will give you with outlook for 2023. It's been 15 months since the announcement of our SCBX strategy, and we just completed the last batch of business transfer of the loan portfolio from the bank to Cardex, and this was done in December. So we can say that SCBX mothership is now fully up and running. In terms of financial performance for 2022, I think we all agree that last year was very difficult for everyone. We have always applied prudent practice in managing our asset quality. Our NPLs has been trending down with higher provision coverage. Credit cost has been on a declining trend, and we certainly see a scope for further improvement. We have demonstrated our resilience in a volatile market like this. Our investment strategy has been very focused, strategic, with controlled and measured risks, and definitely not for speculative purposes. Cost management was very important for the whole group, and this will continue to be the key focus and strategy going forward, in particular when we wrap up the businesses for Gen 2 and Gen 3 businesses. Cost management will also continue to be very important. For the fourth quarter of last year, we suffered mark-to-market investment loss for the quarter, and fee income remained under very much significant pressure. But in an overall grand scheme of things, we believe our foundation remains very solid, and I believe that SCBX as a group is well positioned to bounce back very quickly even when macro and market conditions improve. So let me now give a quick highlight of each of the business segment for last year. Basically, for the Gen 1 banking business, which is the main contributor of the net profit for the group for last year, if not all. And we have continued with business optimization and cost leaning for the banking business. Even with the decline in the wealth revenue, and the softness in the bank assurance, our market positions remain a dominant market player. We continue to grow our digital customer base in our SCB Easy app, which is our main mobile bank application. And we certainly will want to put greater emphasis on growing our digital wealth and to grow fee income going forward. Kun Chris obviously will share with us later about the strategy to focus on this segment later. Now, moving on to Gen 2 businesses. Apart from CardX business, all of the Gen 2 companies stage very strong balance sheet growth. AutoX and AlphaX, which are the two companies that have just been established and started operation last year. They have shown very good execution and gained solid customer traction so far. And we certainly see the momentum, positive momentum going forward for these two companies. Monex and SCB Abacus are the two pure-play fintech platforms that we have built and incubated within the group for some time already. They also have shown very solid growth last year. Not just balance sheet growth, but also growing digital customer base and to grow that ecosystem. CardX obviously is only just starting the business on their own after receiving the asset from the bank in December. So we certainly look for positive growth contribution going forward for CardX in the years to come. For the Gen 3 business, we continue to build foundation to make sure that the companies in this group will be on the right track to give us good exponential growth in the future. In the meantime, companies like InnovestX has been rebranding the company from SCB Securities to InnovestX and recently launched an investment super app. And we have gained also very solid customer traction, and they have gained more than half of the market share of new customers for the app download. SCB 10X continue to be the core VC arm for the group, and they too are building another platform to become a GP with a very strong partner, which is CP Group. Robinhood just recently was granted a license to do ride-hailing business, and we believe this will provide us with a strong growth momentum in the long term. In the near term, they have started with the monetization strategy already, and as you can see from this screen, they started to book some revenue last year, and we certainly see momentum in terms of monetization to be stronger for the years to come. And in the meanwhile, their GMV and user base have been growing quite rapidly. This is the list of investments that we have made so far last year. They are strategic investment because we look for further collaboration opportunities with all of them, not just in Thailand, but also in the region. But you can see that the amount of investment is sizable, but still not very large in terms of our balance sheet. It is basically our investment approach to take measured steps with control risk in the beginning, in particular in the new market for us. And we always want to have solid and strong local partners when we expand into a new market for the group. So we certainly look for good growth opportunity and collaboration opportunities with many of them in this area. The case in point, CardX just announced a joint venture agreement with Akulaku for BNPL business in Thailand. So you'll hear more concrete plan from us later. Now, for 2022 businesses, we believe that we have done really well in terms of NIM expansion and also NAI increase. And this is not just because of the rate hike in terms of policy rate. We have prepared for this for some times already since the year before that in terms of business optimization, tightening up our pricing discipline and risk return consideration. And as a result, NII increased by 13% year on year, and NIM has improved 29 basis points on a year-on-year basis. Fee income suffered a decline about 5%, and this is mainly because of the wealth management and wealth revenue coming down because of the volatile market last year. And I can share with you later in terms of the details of fee income. Investment income, as I mentioned, dropped 79% year on year with a loss in the fourth quarter. But I believe that in the longer term, our investment, which is very strategic and focused, should be able to give us a solid return in the future when the market bounce back. Cost to income ratio has been well managed. We achieved the cost to income ratio on a whole year basis at 45%, despite of the fact that we have significantly higher expenses from the new business set up in the later part, in the second half of the year, from the X group restructuring. But nonetheless, we have managed to keep the cost to income ratio well under our desired level. Credit cost has come down from the level that we saw in the previous year, in the year before that, to around 145 basis point. And in fact, it is a declining trend in the second half versus the first half. And this has basically a result. This is basically a result of our prudent measures and proactive programs that we have put in motion since the beginning of the pandemic crisis. And we believe that if the economy continue to recover, there is room for the credit cost to improve from what we have right now. But we always be mindful of the risks of fragile recovery, high household debt, and also the global recession risk that we may be facing later in the year. So as a result, NPL ratio came down to about 3.3% with higher coverage. As group level, our coverage ratio was at about 160%. Needless to say, capital position remains very robust. So let me first talk about NII. Before I go to that, let me highlight one quick point is that because of the business transfer from the bank to the X businesses, we recorded transfer gain at the bank level. And as a result, we have income tax expenses in the second half of last year. And totally, the income tax as a result of the transfer gain was about 2.4 billion baht. So if you have to add the 2.4 billion baht, which is one-time income tax back to our net profit on a normalized basis would come in at about 40 billion baht, and which should be around 12% year-on-year growth. But our reported net profit was 37.5 billion baht, up 5% year-on-year. So let me quickly walk you through different components of our income. First, on NII. NII growth on a whole year basis was 13% year-on-year. On a quarterly basis, it was an increase of 6% Q-on-Q. And for the full Q alone, the year-on-year growth was very strong, 18% year-on-year. And basically, there are a number of factors that contribute to this strong growth for NII. Not just the rate hike impact. In fact, the rate hike impact was only be realized in the fourth quarter alone. And so the contribution on a whole year basis was only marginal. So it was because it was driven mainly by the pricing discipline that we have put in place for some time already. And as a group, we have managed to deploy our excess liquidity to tap into the investment opportunity and to enhance the yield on an overall portfolio. This is the chart that shows our adjustment to M-based interest rates. Our principle is to make sure that we do pass on some of the policy rate increase to our customers, but we also would be mindful of the impact to the vulnerable customers, the customer that would still be fragile to the rate hike impacts. So as a result, the increase in MLR, which is more applicable to corporate and SME segments, had been higher than the MLR, which is for the retail customer segments. And so far, we still keep our interest rate, deposit interest rate on the individual savings flat. Right now, we still see significant liquidity in the system, and we don't see this to be a major impact to our liquidity base or CASA base at the moment. So I think we have shared our simple analysis on the NIM sensitivity to policy rate increase. On every 1% rate increase, the impact to the first full year is estimated to be around 25 to 30 basis points. It is a range because we want to keep flexibility in terms of how we adjust our interest rate going forward. And we have, in fact, we are looking at around 3 more rate hikes for the rest of the year for the Thai market. And this sensitivity still not taking into account the negative impact from FIDF. So the FIDF, which went into the full rate, has been restored to the original rate starting 1st of January this year. The original impact would be around 20 pips to our NIM on a whole year basis. But since we also hiked our interest rate on the 1st of January of this year as well, in order to partially offset the negative impact from FIDF. So I would say the net negative impact from FIDF would be around 10 basis points. So we can be quite certain that we will manage to make sure that the NIM enhancement as a result of policy rate increase would be positive for the whole group. On a sequential basis, we continue to see very strong yield and NIM uplift for 3 consecutive quarters already. On a whole year basis, NIM was up 29 basis points, and on a quarter-on-quarter basis, NIM was up 16 basis points, whereas yield increased by about 23 basis points. So we did have a small uptick in our cost of fund, cost of deposit. It's gone up by about 4 basis points because we also hiked a little bit of our fixed deposit rate. So the net impact is 16 basis point improvement. On the loan growth basis, you may have noticed that our loan growth on a whole year basis, or in fact on a QoQ basis, has been quite soft. But this is by our strategy in order to optimize our loan growth. Our loan growth, in terms of the growth rate, has been lagging behind industry growth rate. But we believe that because of doing this, it will allow us to be selective and to improve our risk return on our balance sheet. So as a result, corporate loan grew only 4% year on year last year. SME loan was about 1% growth, whereas retail loan has been still quite resilient. The growth rate was about 4%. But loan by our subsidiaries, which are Gen 2 companies, grew very rapidly, predominantly Monix, SCB, Abacus, and also AutoX all grew very rapidly. Cardex is still just starting and then receiving the loan from the bank. So the main priority for Cardex would be to improve on collection efficiencies. Now let me show the breakdown of loan by segment. SME and corporate loan yields have improved quite considerably over the past few quarters. And on a Q-on-Q basis, the fourth quarter also staged a very solid yield improvement on the back of the rate hikes. In fact, 4Q would be the quarter that our corporate and also SME segment received the full quarter benefit of the rate hikes that was starting in the later part of the third quarter. You may have noticed in this chart that yield for our retail products within the bank remained rather flattish. By structure, auto hire purchase loan is on fixed rate terms, whereas housing loan, we have a good portion that is still on a fixed rate, fixed teaser rates, but they will be repriced later, not this year, but then in the next 1 to 2 years. So the positive momentum will come later. But at this point in time, on an overall yield basis on the retail segment, we should continue to get positive momentum from the fact that we have a bump up in business growth from Auto X and Card X in the future. So I think on an overall basis, we should expect yield on the retail group as a group will continue to slightly improve from what we saw from the level that we saw last year. Fee income suffered a drop on a year-on-year basis, and within this, you will see that the big drop was in wealth management. I think this factor applied to everyone across the industry. We believe that we have done quite a number of measures in order to protect the downside, even though the net impact is still a drop from the year before that. We have been trying to increase wealth revenue sales through digital channel to introduce new products to the market, to introduce the products that will be suitable for the investment environment last year. We believe that if the market turns this year, we should see a strong rebound in the wealth management revenue. Our bank card revenue has been quite resilient. We saw a drop on a Q-on-Q basis, but on an overall year-on-year basis, it was only a small decline on a year-on-year basis. And we believe that this demonstrated our dominant market position, and our sales efficiency has been improving over the years. And the team here and the distribution channels that we have continue to be very effective in order to boost or to at least maintain the momentum for the bank card revenue. Lending related fee income and also transactional banking fee has been improving over the past few quarters, even though it showed a slight drop on a Q-on-Q basis in the last quarter of last year. But the overall trend has been quite positive. And these are the two buckets that would benefit from the continued economic activities recovery in the country. Cost has gone down quite a fair bit in the fourth quarter of last year, partly because of the setup costs and restructuring costs that was incurred by the new businesses or business under SCBX restructuring. A lot of this is one time, but many of these also would be there because the business need to continue and to maintain the momentum to grow the business going forward. But we believe that the overall cost to income structure should be very much be under control going forward. Last year, the average CI ratio was about 45%. And we certainly believe that we can manage the overall CI ratio to be more or less at that level going forward. In order to achieve that, we see scope for the CI ratio improvement for Gen 1, which is the banking business, and to allow more room for Gen 2 and Gen 3 to boost that revenue, which will incur a little bit higher cost, such that the overall CI ratio is within our expected range. asset quality showed improvement in 4Q last year. NPL continued to come down. We closed the year at around 3.34%. We certainly see scope for NPL to be managed down or to be brought down further, but certainly it depends on many factors. But from what we can see right now, that's for that to happen in the year 2023. Stage 2 also came off on a full year basis. It actually went up a little bit Q on Q from 3Q to 4Q because of our prudent measures, and we want to make sure that our staging reflects as much fidelity as possible while we are putting about 11% of our customers under the Blue Scheme restructuring program. So far, the Blue Scheme customer portfolio remained rather constant from 3Q to 4Q, which was around to 78 billion baht. There was no new customer coming to the program in the fourth quarter of last year. So this basically reflects better economic prospect, or at least from our business portfolio, in the sense that we have been quite proactive all along already, and we have put the customer that should be in the program in the CDR program already, and I believe 10-11% should be the right number. In terms of the outlook for 2023, depending on how economic recover pans out to be for Thailand, there may be new customers to enroll in the program, but we certainly expect the quantum to be much smaller than what we saw in the year 2022. So that concludes the financial results for last year. Let me now ask Dr. Sompravin to give us an update on the outlook for 2023. Dr. Sompravin, please.
Thank you, Kap. Good afternoon. Actually, since our last analyst meeting, we highlighted that the recovery would be uneven and uncertain, and now it seems unsynchronized, whereby US and EU heading towards a recession, while China is opening up. And Thailand, so we are facing two sides of the effect. The negative coming from the advanced economy slowdown, but the bright spot coming from China opening up and lift up our tourists and related service industry. And on the balance, we expect the Thai economy to grow around 3.4% this year. And the keywords, as I mentioned, uneven, uncertain, and unsynchronized, tell us that we should be selective and prudent in our doing business. So in medium to long term, we also acknowledge that there are structural challenges, namely climate change, trade war, aging society, and that needs our transformation in our business, banking business. So let me go quickly into details here. SCB EIC expect the world economy to grow around 1.8%, and that's just slightly above the past average of past recession at 1.5%. And as you can see in the middle of the chart, recession risk in advanced economy still remain high. On the right-hand side, light shining from China, but on the top panel, you can still see that we remind that there are still few more risks still there. For Thailand, we see that recession risks remain low. Our baseline number of 3.4 implies 8.5% recession probability. And domestic economy should gradually improve over time, led by tourism and service related. We like it because it's labor intensive. And here we predicted tourist arrival will reach 28 million since third quarter of last year, with Chinese arrival around 4 million. and now it seems that this number a little bit conservative. Things move quickly and we could slightly upgrade, adjust number a little bit. And my last point is medium to long term. We highlight that there are several moving factors that determine how we do business. I will not go into details in the slide, but I would like to highlight some keywords here down below. It's personalization, automation, omni-channel, and business diversification. And that's all lead to our business transformation. And that's all from my part. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Supravin. Let me now ask Chris to give us some more color in terms of how he sees the business for the banking Gen 1 business going forward and the strategy.
Thank you, Pramod. As previously mentioned in Q3 of last year, the bank's aspiration in the next 3 years is to be the #1 digital bank with clear focus on our wealth management business, offering seamless experience across all touch points. With the eventual executional success of our strategies, the percentage of digital revenue is projected at 25%, where we expect to have the largest wealth share of wallet in Thailand, while at the same time continuing decreasing our cost-to-income ratio to be around mid-30s to high 30s. With that in mind, our actions and targets for 2023 are as follows. We will digitize our process end-to-end, enhancing our technology platform, creating seamless interactions with higher adoptions of digital sales and service, expecting 90% of our service can be done digitally, and further reducing our cost-to-income ratio of this year to be 40%. We anticipate that the wealth management market will pick up this year, and we have clear plans in strengthening our wealth management capabilities, viewing our segment holistically with proper graduating of segments, and continue to upskill Thailand's largest IC advisory team in becoming digital advisors. We would also continue to leverage our close partnership with SCB, SCB Julius Baer, including the various asset management firms in our panel, expecting a 33% uplift in our wealth revenue. Finally, we would continue our loan optimization strategy, remaining vigilant in our lending and managing our portfolios prudently, and focus to grow on segments which benefits from the reopening theme. Speaking of the reopening theme, with the expected uplift from tourism, we see opportunities across all segments with plans to strategically capture them. In the wholesale and SME space, with a pickup from the tourism, we see revenue rising in the hospitality industry with clear demands to provide support them in operations, renovations, expansion. We also would encourage early debt repayments and selectively supporting clients with appropriate working capital. In the retail space, we expect increased cross-border transactions, both in inbound and outbound traffic. For inbound, we are working with our regional partners in capturing opportunities via their digital payment platforms. For outbound, we are enhancing our proposition of SCB Planet Card, which targets outbound travelers, ensuring that we capture the share of spending overseas. Drilling further down in the retail space, specifically on insurance, with the improved economy resulting in more travelings, we believe that concerns on health and uncertainty can finally be addressed with insurance. We are ready to increase our travel insurance sales via our digital platforms, launching new bundle insurance proposition, and targeting group insurance for companies within the hospitality industry. From a macro environment perspective, with the improved economic indicators being expected GDP at 3.4 and more than double tourist arrival this year at 28 million, we are optimistic that the rebound in tourism activities would be beneficial to the hospitality sector, which in theory should have a trickle effect down to the retail segment's ability to recover from the pandemic. However, with the interest rate expecting to go up at 2%, together with increased household debt at 86%, this means more pressure on the debt serviceability, especially on the backdrop where the rate hike is expected. Having said this, looking at our NPL and comprehensive debt restructuring portfolio towards the end of last year, we are cautiously optimistic that the situation in the moment remains under control. Nevertheless, we remain prudent in our strategy, ensuring that early warning systems and signals are in place. We have clear plans to tailor our support of CDR customers selectively, and most importantly, we will be optimizing our portfolio with the right balance between fixed and float rate. Next, I would like to pass on the Gen 2 business outlook to Kumano.
Thank you, Kapun Chris. So let me touch upon the outlook for select Gen 2 and Gen 3 companies. First with Cardex. The focus for 2023 for Cardex would be to improve on collection efficiencies. We do see significant room for improvement in this area. And the way the Cardex team will go about this is to use AI, use data analytics to improve, and also new risk management capabilities to be uplifted in order to be more targeted and focused to improve on this collection. So for this, we expect significant improvement in credit costs for Cardex. The credit cost for this portfolio under the bank last year was quite high, and we certainly see room for this to improve this year. So this will be the main focus. Once the company got this in order already, then they will grow their balance sheet in order to improve the loan mix in such a way to enhance portfolio yield, and that will come later. Now for AutoX, the company has shown very good execution last year. In less than 6 months of business operation, the company already dispensed more than 7 billion baht of loan. And the plan for this year is to grow the loan book multiple times to 35 billion baht, and to further build the number of branches to 2,000 branch nationwide. And what I probably want to highlight from what the company has been communicating to investors since the SCBX day 2 months ago was that the company is looking to broaden and offer more a variety of insurance products, and this will help the fee income for the company and also for the group. And we have been talking to our partners in order to put this in motion very quickly. Purple Venture, right now it is still a loss-making business, but we do see very good traction in terms of customer base and also the GMV traction. We see room to be less cash burning. In any case, the cash burning that we have seen so far has been all within our CI ratio for the whole group, meaning 45% already includes the expenses, promotional expenses, and the loss from Purple Venture. With the recent shift in the industry landscape, we do see room to be more conducive to reduce subsidy. The company has been selling some digital advertisement already successfully. In the medium terms, meaning 2 to 3 years down the road, we believe the ride-hailing business and also new business, for example, EV subscription, should bring the group to break even by the year 2026. For this year, 2023, we will manage to stabilize our annual loss, meaning that annual loss will not be widened from the level that we saw last year. InnovestX has been gaining traction in terms of customer base for the new investment super app for the Thai market. It is the first super app that offer both traditional and digital assets in all-in-one platform with a single view for investors. So they will continue to do this and look for new opportunities to broaden the digital asset offering. So I think for this year, it will be mainly to set further solid foundation for much higher growth for the years to come. Now for SCBX alone, as an investment holding company, we have mentioned previously that our growth execution will be unfolded in 3 phases. The first phase, namely last year and this year, is to build core foundation and making sure that we have the right governance, investment governance in place, the right committees and the bodies in place to make sure that we will make good investment decisions. Now, phase 2, which means this year and the next 2 or 3 years, to drive growth in particular from the Gen 2 businesses. So one of the key mandates for SCBX is to support and to drive and make sure that Gen 2 firms do deliver on that performance. And while we continue to look for growth opportunities to build the new horizon for the long-term growth prospect in Thailand and also in the region. The focus will be on both a mix of Gen 2 and Gen 3. But for Gen 2, for example, the partnership that we're going to form together between Cardex and our business partner from Indonesia would be one such example. There are quite a number of initiatives that we have installed right now. And from the center, we will set up Center of Excellence, Cloud COE, Cyber Security COE, and Data COE to make sure that as a tech company, we will have the tech and data solid tech and data foundation to drive the whole group capabilities. Lastly, let me close our presentation with financial targets for the whole year. It is the first time that we are providing guidance by 3 gens of business and also SCBX group. Loan growth on the whole group basis, 5 to 8% range. For bank, low single digit. For Gen 2, will be more than 40%. Net interest margin, we expect at least 20 basis point of NIM improvement on the whole group basis. And this is a combination of further rate hikes and also the full impact of the rate hike that we had last year, plus a catalyst or momentum, better high contribution from the fact that Gen 2 business will continue to have larger contribution, which we expect mid-teen range for NIM from the Gen 2 bucket. So on an overall income growth basis, we are expecting more than 10%. And we keep this an open-end kind of range because we certainly believe that there is scope for us to grow stronger than this. Cost to income ratio, mid-40s with around 40% for the banking business and high 40s for Gen 2. For Gen 3 is still quite high, but the overall CI ratio would be within our target. Credit cost, we expect a range of 120 to 140 basis points. With Gen 1, now that the high risk business being split off from the banking business already, we expect around 1 percentage point for overall Gen 1 and around 6 to 6.5% for overall Gen 2. Whether this will be the upper end or the lower end of the range really depends on the macroeconomic outlook. We do see a prospect for business activity recovery, in particular from the tourism industry, and also the fact that consumption should improve on the back of better tourism as well. But we also be mindful of the uneven recovery that Dr. Soprovin has just mentioned, and also the global recession risks. So it will be very much a dynamic process. Right now, we want to still keep our guard at a certain level, and in order to maintain prudent practice going forward. And we also do have some target for our customer for the whole group.